Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the differences between leadership and management. When we first went into business over 18 years ago, we referred to ourselves as management consultants. It was a common term at the time. And about 3 or 4 years into our business, we started to refer to ourselves as leadership consultants. And when we first started doing that, we got some cross-eyed sort of looks, and how do you consult on leadership? But we were pretty well convinced that that's what we were doing because we were influenced by a writer named John Maxwell. Many of you will recognize his name. And he had two fundamental things that really influenced us. One was he had a simple definition that said leadership is the art of influence. And the second thing was that he maintained that everything rises and falls on leadership. And we got to thinking about the truth of those things and what we were seeing in the organizations that we had been invited into. We started to think about, in order to influence and encourage organizational life, organizational productivity, the progress of organizational culture, it's really leadership that makes the difference. So it got me to thinking about, well, then what is the role of management? I had made my living as a manager, and I felt good about that. But I started thinking, when I was a manager, I was a sales manager before I came into this business, what was being asked of me? And I thought, basically two essential things were asked of me as a manager. Number one was to help people get clear about what they were responsible for or what they were supposed to do. And the second thing was to make sure that they did it. I got to thinking about that, and I thought, people don't really like to be checked on. Certainly some people need to be checked on. But after a while, I got to the point where I didn't really like checking on them either, and I really didn't think it was a very positive conversation to have to go to people and say, you remember what your job is, what you're responsible for? It was necessary, but not enjoyable or positive. So we developed a theory then, and I'd like you to think about this along with me. There's probably an inverse relationship between leadership and management. Another way to think about this would be the better we lead, the less we need to manage. So how do we avoid having to spend a lot of time in the business of management? Well, we lead better. Let's just think about it for the purposes of today's conversation as having three essential elements in organizational life. You can remember them by 3 C's: cohesion, clarity, communication. Great leaders lead cohesive organizations that fit together. Their mission makes sense. Their values resonate with people. People know what the goals are, and they know what the strategies are to get to those goals. And secondly, there's clarity in the organization. We understand what we're responsible for. We understand what we're experts at and how that expertise is going to be used and how it fits together with the guy in the next office and how that leads us to great organizational results. And then thirdly, we communicate really well, and we communicate clearly and concisely, and we get great organizational outcomes when we lead really well and we understand the inverse relationship between leadership and management. Between now and next time, I'm going to be thinking a lot about the role of intentions in organizational life, and I invite you to tell me what you've been thinking about.